Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from GoldandBlack.com, live in Mackey Arena, following Purdue's 99-41 exhibition game win over Grand Valley State, and cursing the day Freddie Freeman was born. No offense. This is your GoldandBlack.com rap video. It's brought to you by our friends at the Purdue Club Hotel. Thank you to them so much, as always, for their support. I just did one of these, went 19 minutes, and we can't do that anymore. We got to keep these things concise. We got to tighten it up. So I'm redoing it, much to the chagrin of my fatigue levels. But here we go. So Purdue wins 99-41. Their exhibition season is over following the Creighton charity game on Saturday night, and now this Grand Valley State game here on Wednesday night. This game was about as sharp as it gets for one of these types of competitions. This time of year, you expect a certain raggedness around the edges, turnovers, mistakes, things like that, especially when you're a team like Purdue that's got a bunch of freshmen playing. It's got guys playing different positions, sometimes different positions in the same half. You expect a little bit of raggedness. But this was pretty clean. This was pretty sharp. Purdue only turned the ball over 5 times among its rotation guys, 7 total, but 2 of them were by the cleanup crew there at the end. Purdue's 23 of 26 from the line. They were efficient offensively. What did they shoot? I'm reading the box score guide tonight. 55%. 8 of 22 from 3 is a little bit deceiving because it's so much garbage time. They rebounded the hell out of the ball. They exerted the advantages Purdue should have in a game like this to their fullest extent, and I think that's the sort of approach you want to see in games like this from an intangible perspective. Kind of have a pretty good idea what Purdue has here. We know that Purdue is better than Grand Valley State. It's physically by far the superior to not Lake Superior, Michigan people. By far the physical superior to Grand Valley State. There's no beating your chest winning a game like this, 99-41. But you look at yourself, you compete against yourself more than the competition sometimes in games like this, and your standard is how good you can be. And I think Purdue was good. It was really good. It was really sharp. It was really clean. I'm sure there were mistakes made that weren't necessarily apparent real time to the naked eye, things like that, or the clothed eye, one or the other. But this was just a really impressive performance by Purdue in the context of what this game was. And I think that you are seeing a Purdue team here with an excellent core, a really good core that can take this team a lot of places, both this year and next, provided it remains intact. And I think, for as good as Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer are, I think this really starts with Trey Kaufman-Renn right now. I'm not performatively making that a hot take. I'm saying that I think the player that is taking this to a whole different level here right now is Trey Kaufman-Renn. And if you've been reading our stuff or listening to our stuff for the past 8 months, whatever it's been, this was entirely predictable because this guy is a really good player. He has shown it in his opportunities to this point. Those opportunities, though, had Ross-Ade sitting on them, which is problematic for those opportunities becoming apparent. Now is his time. He moves into a plum role in college basketball as Purdue's post-scoring alpha. He's a really, really complete offensive player, a really diversified offensive scorer as opposed to a defensive scorer, I guess. Scores inside, scores outside, can shoot the 3 a little bit. His passing has really come a long way, and I think you saw that tonight. He only gets 1 assist. By the way, he didn't turn the ball over, and for a guy who's going to be a focal point for defenses, ball security for him is going to be essential, and he has been a little bit turnover prone at times in heavy usage situations prior to this season, but his passing, he got Purdue 3 wide open threes in the first half alone, passing out of the post, passing out of help. He seems pretty instinctive, pretty quick thinking in terms of his decisions in the paint, and Purdue made one of them. Jakari Harris missed one from the corner I'm pointing to a spot on the floor you can't see. Why I'm doing that, I don't know. But then the next time down, or a couple times down, he threw it to the opposite side to Fletcher Lawyer, who got a good look, missed it, but got fouled. So that was 3 points. He made all 3 free throws. So that's 6 points off of those 3 sequences. So the one doesn't count as an assist, but it's ostensibly an assist. So I love the word ostensibly. So drink every time I say that this year. So his passing is of critical importance to this team being as good offensively as it's been in years past, which it has every opportunity to be. And just he's kind of put on a show here through 2 games in terms of his offensive productivity, his efficiency. He's just going to be a really good player. 7 of 7 from the floor. It's hard to do better than that. 7's a number. Anyway, sorry, that was from me. I'm playing Dumb and Dumber in my head while I'm doing this. No, I'm sorry, something about Mary. My bad. Same actor, though. Purdue's going to be pretty good offensively here. And I thought they were okay defensively. I thought they did a great job asserting the advantages they should have had over Grand Valley State in this game, and just leveraged their strengths over this particular opponent as best they could. Offensive rebounding, has kind of been a part of Purdue's basketball culture here. It's been a consistent strength. You don't have Zach-Edey anymore, but you maintain that level of productivity through these 2 exhibitions, which says that this is just such an emphasis and so on these guys' minds that it's going to remain a strength. And what this season's kind of all about is that. It is little stuff like offensive rebounding, keeping turnovers to a minimum, defensive rebounding, stuff like that. And this is very similar to the 2019 team that should have gone to the Final Four, where you took Carson Edwards and Ryan Klein, you let them do their thing, you let them be high volume, super aggressive, always looking to shoot guys, and you surrounded them with Nogel Eastern, who covered up some of your defensive inefficiencies with some of your better players, and then you put Grady Eifert out there, who just was as efficient as could be on very low usage, a high possessions guy, somebody who offensive rebounded for you, made open shots, made the right play damn near every single time. Matt Harms, who protected the rim for you a little bit, really efficient on low volume offensive usage, kind of stuff like that. You just put this infrastructure of efficiency around 2 players, who were really, really good scorers and really, really high volume guys, and you allowed them to be inefficient at times. You allowed them to take 25 shots to get 20 points. Sometimes that's an exaggeration, because everybody else on the floor was just a pillar of efficiency. And I think that's where these other 2 guys come down to. I'm talking about 5 players on the floor at all times. Trey, Kaufman-Renn, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer are one of the better cores in all of college basketball. Those other 2 guys now need to be guys who make them better, who amplify their strengths, and who don't become weaknesses themselves. And I think the center situation at Purdue right now, for the first time in God knows how long, is a question mark. I think Daniel Jacobson got the start tonight. I think they're going to throw him out there, ready or not, and they're going to make him develop on the job through experience. And I think he's going to be really good, but there's going to be ups and downs. You see his body; it is not a Big Ten body yet. You got to fight through some things in situations like that. Will Berg is a Big Ten body, but there's a little bull in the china shop in him right now that he needs to kind of settle in a little bit and learn to just do what he does really well and do it as under control as possible and not foul, things like that. All that stuff is possible. Daniel Jacobson can be an exponentially better player in 3 months than he is right now. Will Berg can be an exponentially more effective player than he has been through these 2 exhibitions here in 3 months as he settles in a little bit. But that might be a process. There might be a process involved there. The third guard thing, Jakari Harris, C.J. Cox, revelations. When Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer came into this program, they were naturally tethered together because they came in together. They were starting right away, stuff like that. They were bound to be associated with one another from their first day at Purdue until their last day at Purdue, whenever that might be. C.J. Cox and Jakari Harris are the same way because they came in together. They're going to make impacts right away together. They're going to play a lot together, both this year and obviously into the future. And there's so many commonalities between them. They're both really, really competitive, smart, intelligent, substantive people and players. They're defensive minded. They're physically tough. They're physically advanced. They can both make shots. They can both create offense off of defense. They're both going to be fan favorites, and they are going to play a lot of basketball together. And they're going to go down in Purdue's oral history, whatever term you want to use, together, much the same way Fletcher Loyer and Braden Smith are going to. They are going to help Purdue big time this year. They'll make mistakes. They are freshmen, but they're going to help Purdue big time. Again, right recruits at the right time. Very similar to what I said about Lance Jones last year, though that sort of impact is way too much to ask of any freshman. Where you squeeze Miles Colvin and Camden Heide into this is kind of up to them. You kind of like the fact you've seen those guys hit the glass a little bit. They've got to be good defensively. They've got to be versatile defensively. They've got to be bought in and detail-oriented defensively. They've got to rebound. And they've got to give you offensive punch, whether that's using their athleticism around the basket or making threes or whatever it might be, but they have to bring value. And that's the same as the centers. You know, Purdue's in this, I don't know how I just segued from the wings to the centers again, but just go with it. The thing about these lineups, you know, I always thought they'd go with Trey Kaufman-Renn at the 5 primarily, just because I thought they'd err on the side of what could be a really, really dangerous offensive lineup. But when I'm sitting here through 2 exhibitions and thinking about that critically, I'm looking at Purdue playing 7-footers to try to boost their rebounding and rim protection, potentially at the expense of a little bit of offensive trade-off, theoretically. But here Purdue scored 87 points at Creighton, 99 against Grand Valley, 2 very different opponents. But there's not been a lot of offensive drop-off. So how much more upside there is to Trey Kaufman-Renn being at the 5, I think there'd be some, but they're pretty good as is. But Jacobson and Berg, and if Raleigh Burgess figures into this mix, him too, Caleb first if he plays center. I'm not sure where he's going to land in the positional structure. I think that if you have a 7-footer out there, and we know how much Matt Painter loves his 7-footers, they have to be an advantage. Their presence has to be felt on the glass, and their presence has to be felt protecting the rim. And they have to be good defending ball screens, defending the paint, things like that. They have to shoot 70% on their dunks, 80% on their dunks. They have to be physical. They have to take a toll on opponents. If there's not an advantage to playing with a 7-footer on the floor, what's the point of playing with a 7-footer on the floor? So that's kind of the thing you ought to watch in these first few regular season games is what difference does Jacobson and Berg make? Obviously, those guys will be better months from now, but this experience now is what gets them to that place. And how much does Painter go to Trey Kaufman-Renn at the 5 to try to, A, give you a little bit of offensive punch, create some mismatches against certain people, but also squeeze Camden Heide's athleticism into the lineup, Miles Colvin's athleticism into the lineup a little bit. It's going to be interesting. I think, you know, from these 2 exhibitions, you learned a little bit about Purdue, but I think there's all sorts of other doors to open here in terms of seeing what this team's going to be all about, what it's ultimately going to look like when it matters most at the end of the Big Ten season, when there might be a championship on the line, and then going to the NCAA tournament. It's a long way away. But that's what I got. I cut 5 minutes off of this thing, so was it worth it? I don't know. Thank you to the Purdue Club Hotel for your support once again. As always, we appreciate it very much. So from Mackey Arena, following Purdue's 99-41 exhibition game win over Grand Valley State, and the New York Yankees 6-5 7th inning lead over the Los Angeles Dodgers after that went to hell. there after a 5-0 lead was squandered. This is Brian Neubert from goldenblack.com. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. And thank you for processing our materials, however it is you process our materials. I'm going to overpronounce that word all year long because I tend to slur it, and I don't want to do that. So thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you again after Purdue opens the season against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, whatever day that game is. I don't know. But when I find out, I will let you know. Thanks, everybody.